Okay, I'm back here with my cup of coffee, my sofa, and of course my Bible. Yeah, I got a Kindle Fire over here, but you know what? I'm an old fogey. There's something about a real book that really floats my boat. You know, I just like books, real books, not digital books. Sometimes they're helpful. You know, you can do the pinch thing, make the text bigger and all that. Yeah, when you're surfing, I can't afford my own personal classic car collection, so I collect those little 124 and 118 scale die-cast metal Camaros, Mustangs. You know, you get the idea. Anyway, I want to talk about the universe a little more today. My glasses are over here. If it gets bright, I might put them on. I doubt it. No. But anyway, the universe was also created by God. Okay, there's no doubt about that. And if you don't think that this isn't part of our Creator God's magnificent plan for the universe, I feel sorry for you. I feel sad for you because I want you to see how beautiful it is. I want you to open your mind and your eyes to the possibility. No, actually, it's the reality that God created everything in the universe. Now, I'm just going to assume some of you have been to school, college, university, or whatever. Maybe some of you haven't. So some of this might sound rudimentary, but I want you to look at it from a different perspective. The Earth sits in what's called the Goldilocks zone, that perfect spot, sweet spot from the sun. Not too hot, like the porridge, not too cold, in just the right spot. And the moon comes along, and there's a big debate whether that was done by accretion and all this other stuff, or was it a chunk of the Earth that got blown off into space? Okay. I personally think it was put there by God, inserted. There's another scientific explanation that would kind of go along those lines. Anyway, the point is, when you see a full eclipse, you can only see the full eclipse on a certain track. But in order to see that, the moon had to have been precisely placed. What I'm getting at is precision. God has precisely used his divine omnipotence. Now, sure, there are all kinds of, but I'm going to tell you something. You can talk about CERN, particle accelerators, and all these things going, boom, boom, out and out. Yeah, it does, but it's still part of God's plan. He made it that way. The sun, with the nuclear stuff going on, and is it fusion or fission? I always mix those two up. I'm going to assume some of you know what a CME or a coronal mass ejection is. Okay, if one of those hits the Earth, it has the potential to completely wipe out all life as we know it. Why doesn't it? Well, the Earth has a magnetic, or an iron core, and it has a magnetic field, which shields us. Okay? And then, I'm not sure if I remember all this correctly. It's been a while. Jupiter, or one of the big planets out there, is also shielding us from certain harmful effects. Now, we've probably seen pictures of the aurora. They used to call it the aurora borealis. I don't know what it is with the drop the borealis part or something. And we know that that's the radiation and interacting with the magnetic field, and it's beautiful and everything. Kind of sounds like a reminder. God said, hey, you know what? I'm protecting you up here. Yeah, I really see it that way, because that's really the way it is. All of this didn't happen by accident. The Earth didn't just accidentally get put in the Goldilocks zone. The magnetic field and the iron core wasn't just created by accident. It just didn't happen by accident. It was designed that way. And when you think about all the other planets and moons and stars and all these other things, and you study about how stars are created, yeah, there's a life cycle. It's billions of years as we measure time. But remember something now. They've already proven that, I can't think of what they call it, the farther away you get away from the Earth, time passes, time dilation, maybe that's it. Even our satellites in orbit, it's a tiny, itty-bitty fractional amount. But they have, I think they have firmware or algorithms, I don't know how they accomplish it, but they actually have on board those satellites and whatnot a way to adjust, because otherwise time would be off with respect to the satellites because they're farther away. Okay, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's been proven. You get a certain distance away from the Earth, scientifically, okay, time passes differently. Well, guess what? You know that theologian I mentioned that said God is, I'm not sure but if it was the same guy or not, but there was another theologian, and he said God exists in the eternal now. What does that mean? It means simply this. It's now. Oh, if this makes any sense at all, God exists in the now all the time. Does that make sense? Okay, we're on this planet. Time, our existence is confined and limited so that we are suffering, and what happens to us here is, we're kind of like in a boot camp to learn about God, serve God, love God. Make your choice. Choose this day whom you will serve. Okay? But so God exists in the eternal now. It's all now with God. That's the kind of the definition. I think that's the very definition of what eternity is. Can you wrap your mind around that? It's always now. Can you think about that if you were existing right now and it was in that same place as God is, and everything was now? There's no then, there's no future, there's no past. It's just present. It's just now. Okay, that is what eternity is going to be like. And that's why it's critical for you to make the right choices with your life, with your heart, with your soul, and accept Jesus in here, in the part of you that is not the physical part, the spiritual part. And I'm praying for you. I am. I'm praying for you. I want you to believe in God, but I want you to come to the conclusion that God is real on your own, based on real evidence, factual evidence, reasonable evidence, logical evidence, because it's there. It exists. It is real. But in order for you to see it, it's so simple, and you're just walking right by it. Like, you've been walking on a busy sidewalk and you stumble into somebody because you had your head down, messing with your cell phone, whatever. You didn't see it, and you bumped right. Okay, it's kind of like that, I don't want you to bump into eternity and find out, oops, I blew it, and suffer the consequences. What I want you to do is see that believing in God is beneficial, reasonable, practical, and I want you to... Now, I'm not saying all your problems are going to be solved, okay? The cranky neighbor across the street that, gets mad when your kids go on the lawn or something, that's not going to go away, most likely. But there's a whole bunch. You can grow and be... Do you get to choose what kind of person you are? There's a lot of people who don't realize that. I had that divine revelation when I was in my early 20s. You're not stuck with who your parents were. You don't have to be. Nah, Anyway, back to the cosmos and the universe. All those things are divinely created, and they were put in place, and God made provisions to love you and care about you. And what I'm saying is if you don't believe in God, you're missing out on the greatest love that ever was. Matter of fact, God's the divine source of all love. The love that you have as a parent for your child that runs so deep, that flows from God. God created love inside of you as a parent. Now again, people can trample all over love. They can abuse themselves with sexual immorality. They can use drugs. They can fry their mind. Yeah, that all, unfortunately, sometimes that happens. I'm hoping you're not one of those people. If you are, and you can understand what I'm saying, it's not too late. You can, the Bible calls it repent. You can turn around. Now, I'm going to throw in one last closing thing for this Bible talk. Okay? The technical definition, the most accurate definition for sin, is anything less than God's perfection. And I hear people all day long say, I'm only human. I made a mistake. I was going 100 miles an hour. And yeah, the mistake was I blew right by that motor officer on his motorcycle, and now I got this big fat ticket. Okay. My point is simple. Every day, people say, I'm only human. They recognize that they're not perfect. They do it to other people. They tell their friends, yeah, Bob, you're my best friend. I'm not perfect. Okay, I scratched your car. I forgot to clean it up, and I got a little nacho sauce on the seat of your car or something. Come on. Forgive me, Bob. Will you forgive me? Or it could be you lost your temper with your wife or your kids, or did something you shouldn't have done. Okay? I don't want to make sin a light matter either. But what I'm saying is there's a long, huge range of imperfection in people. And people admit they're not perfect to each other all the time. Why is it so tough to say, Lord, Father, forgive me. I'm an imperfect being, and I'm asking for your forgiveness. I made a mistake. Can you forgive me for everything I did wrong in my life and come into my heart and change my heart? Make me a better person, make me more Christ-like. Why is that so hard? Why? Have you been brainwashed with the never give up, never surrender? There's a time to surrender. When two people get married, they're supposed to surrender to each other. What? Yeah, I'll talk about that someday. I'm asking you to think about surrendering to God. And what has anybody got to lose? What have you got to lose? If you went in private, let's say in your master bedroom, or maybe your kids aren't around and you're on your sofa. What if you bowed your head and you don't have to get on your knees? You don't have to do any kind of special incantation, but what if you said a simple prayer that went something like this? God, I don't know if you're there. I'm not sure I really believe in you. But if you are, would you reveal yourself to me? Would you let me know? Okay? What is the worst that could happen? But yet people don't want to do it. It's a tragedy. God bless you. God loves you. So do I. See you next time.